That exquisite music is by composer Abbie Betinis, sung by the group Vox Humana. It's called To the Evening Star. And I am so happy that I can be sitting across the table from composer Abbie Betinis, responsible for that wonderful work and a host of others. And she's actually going to be at Carthage College this Sunday afternoon as she and the rest of the audience listens to the Carthage Women's Ensemble under the direction of Dr. Peter Dene perform one of her most highly regarded new works called A Blessing of Cranes. And we're going to speak with her about this and about her overall career and encourage all of you to come to what promises to be a very special concert Sunday afternoon at Carthage, Siebert Chapel, 4 o'clock, a free concert which will feature 4 of Carthage's choral ensembles, the Carthage Choir, Women's Ensemble, Chapel Choir, and Lincoln Chamber Singers. Abbie Betinis, we welcome you to the morning show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great to have you here. Great to have you here. I want to talk for a moment about this work, but just in one particular matter of it. This is something which was commissioned by the 2014 Women's Choir Commission Consortium of the American Choral Directors Association. Sounds like a really interesting commission. Just say a quick word about that.
It is the first time I've written for 37 choirs. This is my first time doing a consortium commission where each choir buys in with a certain fee in order to commission 3 composers, and I'm one of them for this season. And I believe Carthage Women's Ensemble is the first choir of the 37 to give this piece its premiere.
Wow.
So I thought I'd just drive over from St. Paul and just be there to witness it.
Of course, for the big, big day.
Yeah.
And I should think that one of the great joys you've had is to collaborate with other musicians, with various ensembles of one kind or another. I mean, probably your typical commission is not like this one, which involves sort of all of these different groups, most of which you probably had no direct knowledge of. But under most circumstances, of course, a composer is writing maybe for a conductor or a group that they know something about.
Exactly.
And what a pleasure.
Yeah, and this piece had its own challenges that way because the 37 ensembles are all very different. Some are younger students, some are community women. It's a women's consortium, so they're all treble voices. But I wanted to write something that would be universally interesting and still personal enough that it needs to be said in music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I went to my friend, I'm so pleased to call him my friend, the poet Michael Dennis Brown. He's the professor emeritus of English at the University of Minnesota. And he was my poetry teacher while I was there studying. And I asked him if he might write me a poem for this particular project.
Did you give him a particular topic?
I did. I had been working on the idea of something, I guess I won't go into it very much, but I've been working on the idea of 3-dimensional sheet music a little bit. One of the first things that one of my counterpoint teachers told me when I was studying was sheet music has 2 drawbacks. So the first is that it ends at the end of the page, and the second is that it's flat. And music is not flat. Music renders itself in sort of an oral 3-dimensional aspect when we hear it. We can hear a pattern that pops out of a texture. We can hear a flute melody, say, over an orchestral sound bed of strings or something like that. And that comes closer to us than something farther away. And I think he's right. It's one of the drawbacks of standard sheet music is that we can't see that visually in how it might actually render. So I've just been kind of thinking about that a lot for 15 years or so.
Yeah.
And when I realized everything came together at this for this particular project, when I realized that there would be about 1,000 singers singing this piece, I thought, there has been a story I've been wanting to talk about in music, which has to do with 1,000, and that is the story of Sadako and the paper cranes. Do you know this story?
I know something about it, but I bet our listeners don't, or some don't.
When I was young, I had a children's book about it, and we talked about it in school, and But I researched it a little more now as an adult and just found it so, I was just so taken with the idea. So many of your listeners probably know it's the 60th anniversary this year of the dropping of the atomic bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And one of the stories that came out of the Hiroshima bomb is this young girl, Sadako Sasaki. She was 2 when the bomb fell. She survived, but she got cancer when she was 12, a direct result of the radiation from the bomb. What she did was one of her friends reminded her in the hospital that of the Japanese legend of if you fold 1,000 origami paper cranes, you could get a wish. Mm-hmm. And so Sadako sort of set about to find little scraps of paper in the hospital, and she folded. There are different stories, but the one I think is most accurate is she folded 1,300 cranes with her friends and her schoolmates, and she wished for peace, and she wished for her cancer to go away. Something very personal for me.
Of course.
So I thought I'd write a piece about that.
So tell us about Michael Dennis Brown's beautiful poem, or maybe you want to read it for us.
I'd love to. So I went to him with this idea of, do you think you could write a poem about the process of folding a piece of paper? And could it be kind of a geometric poem? My favorite style that he taught me in his poetry class, my favorite form is the villanelle.
Okay.
And that's what this is. I'll read it. It's called A Blessing of Cranes. How do we love you more than to shape you, turning so firmly in the shadows of fingers? How do we love you more than to let you go? Waves of Earth's oceans, waves of our willing hands, creasing and folding, unfolding. How do we love you more than to shape you? Never a thought of thinking, only this weaving, these thousands of wings we make to carry our longing. How do we love you more than to let you go? No trembling before the task, simply this sweetness, freedom from fear, receiving this heartbeat, receiving. How do we love you more than to shape you? Blossoms that shimmer and gather about their branches, returning to earth her peace, her original blessing. How do we love you more than to let you go? Deeper than dream to say, even than singing, releasing the wishes we have, the asking for healing. How do we ever love you more than to shape you? How do we love you more than to let you go?
That's exquisite. and
Isn't that?
Yeah, breathtaking.
I think
Absolutely
what he
beautiful.
does so well, and some of your listeners might know his other poems. He did the lyrics for Stephen Paulus's The Pilgrim's Hymn, which is quite famous, sung at Ronald Reagan's funeral, and others, The Road Home. But what he does really well, I think, is this sense of universality of imagery and things that we can all understand, these blossoms that shimmer. We've seen that.
Yeah.
And then also the personal, that each one of us, I think, comes to this thinking, I have loved something so much that I had to let it go.
The music itself, which I've listened to, is absolutely gorgeous. I want you to say a very quick word about when we take the piece of music in hand, what we find at the very end of it.
What I tried to do was to replicate Sadako's love for this origami art, and to bring that into the hands of the singers. So, with choral music, every single person has their own score, and they're holding it in their hands usually. And this choir is memorized, which is fantastic. But they get a little piece of that paper anyway. In the back of the score, they can cut out a square and fold it, and I have directions for them to fold their own paper crane at the end of the sheet music, so that they can get a sense of what Sadako was going through.
Love it, love it, love it. This is a gorgeous work. So it's its world premiere is sung this Sunday afternoon.
I'm so excited.
The concert at Siebert Chapel. Again, all 4 choirs, and one of the very, very special moments will be the world premiere performance of this piece, A Blessing of Cranes by Abbie Betinis. Let's go out with a little more of your lovely piece, To the Evening Star. And Abbie Betinis, what a pleasure to meet you and to hear a bit more of your music and about your story.
Thank you so
very
much.
best wishes with all the music which you will create from here.
Thank you.